What are some tricks in bed that everyone should know? You can do cool backflips and it's safe. That's the cool trick you can do. Since this was tagged NSFW, don't work from your bed if you're working from home. Separating your workspace from relaxation space will help you be more productive when you're working and disengage from work when you're done. Never, and I mean never, eat an anything bagel in bed. The results are devastating. God, yeah, because just all the stuff you will get all in your bed, you'll have everything everywhere. You tend to sleep better when the room is a bit colder than normal. Put your thermostat down a few degrees. Not only will you sleep better, but you'll save on heating bills in the wintertime if you live in a colder climate. If you fall backwards onto the bed and lift your legs, you can turn the momentum into a little backwards roll, which looks pretty cool. Progressive muscle relaxation. Start relaxing your feet, then your calves and your thighs. Move upwards and relax your back muscles, your arms and shoulders. Take some deep breaths. Relax your neck muscles and jawline. You will fall asleep in peace. If you make your twin beds into bunk beds, there's so much room for activities. Turn the pillow upside down when it's hot. Get to the cool side. Tuck the most inaccessible corner first when changing the sheets. Weirdly, because I'm not smart, I do the least accessible last because I don't know. Hey everybody, welcome back to Ask EmKay. My name's Brandon, and as usual, we've got some questions to read, so let's look at them. Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What is the most insane, evil, funny, dumb way a spouse has tried to screw the other? Once had a boss who had to leave his house for 6 hours while his ex-wife grabbed all the belongings she was legally entitled to. When he returned home, every knob and handle was gone. Doorknobs, cabinet handles, drawer handles, anything that was screwed onto something and used to open it, she had taken. Every day for the next week, he would occasionally yell out, "She took the fucking knobs!" TIL. When you're about to go through a divorce, don't clean out the accounts and hide the money. Grab your pets and put them in a safe place where nobody will ever find them until the divorce is all long over. That seems like a weird piece of advice. Like, what if you can't find them? You put them somewhere nobody can find? You can't find your pets anymore. I'm a lawyer, but have had a very limited amount of experience in divorce cases. The first case I ever worked, the husband shaved/waxed every single hair off his body in an attempt to avoid a court-mandated drug test. Now that is what we call committing to the bit, so you don't, get legally charged. A soon-to-be ex-husband left his wife's prized koi to die on the doorstep of their house. Apparently the value of these fish, 6 in total, was over $100,000. She was, according to her lawyer, so distraught that she couldn't be in court, only in LA. I'm not a divorce lawyer, but my parents got divorced about a year ago. My mom didn't want my dad to show up in court because he would contest and then they'd have to split the assets. She phoned me and told me to put laxatives in his food so he wouldn't be able to make it there. Paralegal for a divorce lawyer here. Our client told us he didn't clear out the marital account after the parties filed, which technically is true because while he removed $45,000, he left about $350 in there. He really went for the technicality on that one. My uncle's ex tried to work it in that she would get half of whatever my grandmother would leave him when she passes. Joke's on her, my grandmother is passing over her kids, not maliciously. My uncle is very well off and so is my mom, and leaving everything to my brother and me. Oh, also, she tried to get sole custody of both of their children, who are in their 20s. I'm not a divorce lawyer, but my prior employer once was served with an obviously forged garnishment order for an employee's ex-wife, directing garnishment of his wages in an amount that far exceeded his actual wages. We reported it to the police department. I read one where in the settlement there was shared custody of a parrot. Neither were allowed to teach the parrot to swear at the other one. Aw, that's a boring, stupid legal restrictions. Deaf people of Reddit. What is the equivalent of having a song stuck in your head? Deaf person here. It's honestly pretty similar. Rhythms, tapping your foot, etc. Not sure about other people's experiences, but I usually have a static sort of sound replaying in my head. I've been deaf since I was 2. I always get clips of people dancing stuck in my head, like the Carlton dance from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or dancing in the fountain from the Friends theme song. Deaf person here. I will have certain TV show intros or commercials repeatedly play over and over in my head. Mostly stuff that I used to see regularly, such as the Pardon Our Dust commercial Toonami aired when I was in middle school/high school, or the intro to Gargoyles, X-Files, Dragon Ball Z, just to give a few examples. I asked my completely deaf best friend this, and she said, the rhythm of the bass in my car, or pictures of things I enjoy, especially shows I watched as a kid. I can remember probably every scene. After a few more texts, I added the songs she talked about to my playlist so I could turn them on while in my car together. I never really thought of the bass in things until now. I first heard of something like this from Baby Driver, the movie, because he puts his hand on the speaker to hear the vibrations. It's really interesting. I asked my deaf uncle what his conscience consisted of, since he's never heard a spoken word. I wondered if it was just an image or his hand signs. I was right. I'm not deaf, but I had a lot of deaf friends when I lived in Austin. Deaf people still listen to music, they just do it differently than you and I. All my deaf friends had amazing bass systems in their cars. I'm mute after a surgery didn't go to plan. I hear my voice in my head, but sometimes I have different accents. Haha. I wonder how it feels to read without knowing how the words sound or saying them in your head or even thinking. My sister always got the equivalent of sign language tongue twisters stuck in her head. She would be idly doing something and signing twisters. How do you feel about a law stating that tickets, speeding, driving under the influence, etc., should be a percentage of the perpetrator's annual wage instead of fixed rates? Finland already does something like this. It's called a day fine. I guess it's okay if it's for minor things like parking tickets, which is how Finland does it, but it definitely should not be applied to things like DUIs. That is just stupid. Money shouldn't be part of the punishment at all. Punish in some other ways, like community service or something. I would prefer mandatory community service hours that actually benefit the community and that nobody can buy their way out of it. Wait, what about rich people who no longer earn income? So people with no wage get a free pass on speeding and drunk driving? Nice. I actually agree with this. A $200 fine can be devastating for someone living in poverty. Revoking that person's license can mean that they can no longer work. On the other hand, $200 is nothing to a rich person. It's like the change you find in your sofa. Don't need a law. After you pay the fine and court costs, the insurance companies take care of that for the next 3 years. If someone says, "I love you," but you're not ready to say it back, how do you respond? "Let's get something to eat." Kind of a weird one. Really derails the conversation, I think. According to my ex, you say you're not there yet, but I really, really like you, and I want to see where this goes, and then completely disappear a week later. Oh, buddy, I'm so sorry. Pat them on the head. It adds confusion, and maybe they think you still like them? We're reading the same book. You're just a couple chapters ahead. That's what my husband said to me years ago when I blurted out my love for him a couple months into dating. Guess he was right, though. I love myself, too. Oof, that is the surefire way to ruin the relationship. I once gave a thumbs up. I can't really clown this one, because this is definitely something I do, and it sucks. You can go the Eric Foreman route and hit them with, "I love cake. I usually wake up when this gets said. Thank you. Here's your order and your $1.72 and change, sir." Just say, "I love YouTube" really fast. "I love YouTube." "Oh, thank you." What is the most effective psychological trick you use? I like to make people think that I'm really, really stupid, but I actually have a PhD, a penis-having degree. One that I picked up from a friend of mine whenever he was trying to pick out dinner with his girlfriend. Rather than ask, "What do you want?" and getting the typical, "I don't know, anything" answer, and then having suggestions shot down, start with, "What do you not want?" Used it a few times in some of my relationships, and it's the godsend question. I work front desk in a medical office. Patients hate updating their paperwork. I used to say, "Look through the pages and make any changes." They would groan and reluctantly take the paperwork or just complain about it. Now I say, "All you have to do is make changes." Saying it that way makes them think it's not much to do, and they take the clipboard without complaint. It's the little things that make life at my office easier. Saying hello to everybody you know, and with a smile. Often people who know each other from when they were in primary school or just from the block when they were young give each other an awkward smile instead of a happy good day. Just imagine, if someone walks into you twice a year and both times you smile and greet them enthusiastically, they will think of you as a nice person. So little effort for a person to find you friendly. When you're talking to someone, they will naturally fill silence. It's subconscious. If you want them to keep talking, keep your own mouth shut. This is useful if you're ever in a verbal altercation. To avoid workplace drama and be well liked is to just compliment people behind their back. Set expectations low and blow people's minds with my mediocrity. Listening to someone without giving advice or pushing for more information typically nets me more information than being pushy for it. Medical professionals of Reddit. When did you have to tell a patient, "I've seen it all before," to comfort them, but really you had never seen something so bad or of that nature? One guy had a penis inflammation, was like 14 inches long and 6 inches wide. I could practically sense the pain. In 2011, I had a saddle pulmonary embolism 2 weeks before my scheduled wedding. My quite seasoned heart surgeon seemed pretty confident that I'd be okay, and he even said he'd get me to my wedding on time. Long story short, I was in the hospital for about a month due to complications. Several weeks later, when I was visiting my heart surgeon for a follow-up, he told me he'd only ever seen 2 other people as sick as I was. Those 2 didn't survive. 25. Genital warts the size of grapes on the guy's quoth he, the ladies never complain. A patient with rectal cancer and an exposed colon and rectum. I could see her tailbone and the end of the femur, and whenever she would poop, it could collect inside this open cavity and had to be flushed out. Not a medical professional, and the dentist didn't even try to play it off as if he'd seen it before. But my sister had bad problems with her teeth. So many of her teeth were pulled, and one was sawed in half while it was still in her mouth so that they could pull half of it. As her dentist held the saw, he said, "I've been telling all my dentist friends about you. I've never done this before." That was probably the wrong thing to say before you saw someone's tooth in half. Dentists really don't care about like your mental well-being when they're messing around in there. It's scary. Yep, had a patient who was 62 and he had never seen a dentist before. I am a dentist. Had literally everything going on orally, especially the smell. Oh my god, the smell. Me and the assistant were like, "Don't worry, we see this kind of stuff all the time." Not a lie, just never all at once. Had a patient who had a melanoma the size of a cauliflower head on the back of her ankle. Melanoma doesn't generally grow like that. Maybe it was the ozone injections she'd gone to another country for? What's the most "I'm turning into my parents" moment for you? I've always had a little sass in me, and most of my life, my shyness covered that up. Now I'm a one-woman sassacre. Thanks, Mom. My brothers have been telling me for years that I'm essentially our mom, to the point of calling me Little Mother, in an endearing way, not a Norman Bates way. I own it. My dad will fall asleep just about anywhere, especially if he sits in recliner. So after I got my first full-time job out of college, I got home and me and my roommate were gonna watch a new episode of some show. I fell asleep in our recliner in less than 10 minutes. I woke up after the show ended and my roommate was like, "Yeah, you were out," and snored a little. When I went from, "Oh hey, this restaurant has live music, cool," to, "Damn it, look at them setting up a drum kit. It's gonna be too loud. I can't hear." My 10-year-old nephew let me win a video game because he felt bad for me, like I did to my dad 25 years ago on Super Nintendo. My significant other and I were packing and getting ready to road trip to some family's house for Thanksgiving. As I was cleaning up the house, my significant other said something along the lines of, "Don't worry about it, you can clean when we get home." I replied with, "I do not want to come home to a dirty house." At that point, I realized I'm turning into my mother. My mom used to find things for us in a minute after we had been looking for hours. My siblings and dad sometimes lose things and ask me to help because I always find it magically. I'm actually very excited about the mom touch to finding things. My dad has always worked himself to death. Now he's retired. When he comes over now, as soon as he sits down on the couch, he falls asleep within minutes. I'm noticing couches are starting to have the same effect on me as I stared into the mass of various saved rubber bands and twist ties. When I sit down and make a dad noise, people of Reddit who knew celebrities before they were famous, how different do they act now? This is real late and secondhand, but I knew someone who went to ACM with Ed Sheeran. He said he was lazy in class, skipped classes, and just wanted to smoke weed, and my acquaintance was mad when Ed started getting more and more famous when Ed didn't even bother with his music courses. I thought that was funny. Ed Sheeran smoking weed? Probably only smokes mid. Worked in a restaurant about 15 years ago as a manager. Rachel McAdams walked in for an interview. She was still in acting school and serving tables to pay for it. She worked at my restaurant over the course of the next 2 summers, serving on our patio. Still friends to this day. She hasn't changed a bit. Still bikes to get groceries. My aunt used to work with Gordon Ramsay's mother, but never made the connection. Once they were out for lunch and he ended up coming in to see his mom and met my aunt in the process. She said he was so lovely and polite. Plus my dad has a bunch of Gordon's old jumpers he didn't want anymore. Not signed or anything like that. It's just a fun family story now. I went to college with Joe Keery, aka Steve Harrington in Stranger Things. He was my college boyfriend's sweet mate and just the nicest guy. His hair has always been dreamy and amazing. Last time I saw him was at a viewing of The Hateful Eight after we graduated, and he still made a point to come over and say hi. A friend of mine was friends with Tom Hanks in high school and went to prom with him. He still writes her personalized birthday cards on one of his typewriters. I went to junior high with Nora Jones. She was the most sincere and serene person. She was fun to talk to and she never gave a hint of who her father was. The night she won all those Grammys was very telling that she hadn't changed a bit. Went to middle school with Megan Fox for a bit. She rode my bus and she mostly kept to herself. Most of the guys would fight over who was gonna sit next to her, but she was very shy and didn't really have much to say. A coworker of mine met Daisy Ridley while on a backpacking trip. Got to know each other pretty well while traveling together. She told my coworker that she wanted to become an actress. Looks like that panned out pretty well. They said Daisy was an absolutely lovely individual. I knew Brett and Jermaine, Flight of the Conchords, back in the late 90s/early 2000s, and met Taika Waititi a few times too. I was a big fan of his art at the time. There was one painting of someone in a bathtub that stuck in my head. I knew Brett better than the others because he was in a reggae band with my good friend Barnaby. As far as I can tell, they are all exactly the same. My dad went to school with Steve Irwin. Reckons he was exactly the same as a young fella. He would be away from school all the time on trips with Bob to rescue and rehome crocs all over Australia. No good at footy, but what is that? I don't know what that is. Explain it. Tell me in the comments. I don't know what that means. My grandfather taught Jack Nicholson in high school math class. Said he was rebellious but wasn't too bad at math. What modern social trend pisses you off the most? Justifying being an asshole with "it's just a prank." I am glad that that one has more or less died out. At least I haven't seen it. Posting your kids' entire lives online. You are permanently ruining their digital footprint from the second they're born. Spoiler alert, most answers are social media. Glorifying celebrities and treating them like gods. Like, I understand being a fan of someone, but you don't have to create an entire livelihood around them or try to emulate them. This is how people get into positions of power when they shouldn't be. How everything needs to be on social media. I have to explicitly say to family members, please don't put this on social media at family events, etc. As an example, trying to post that I had gotten engaged on Facebook before I'd even got to tell close family and friends who weren't actually there. Then getting defensive when you say, can you not post that please? People are crazy. Don't take the moment away from the person. I'm just so glad the licking things at the store trend is over. It is over, right? Please tell me that's finally done. I think that one died because it was illegal. It was like biological warfare. The celebration of bad attitudes, habits, and toxic traits. People would rather be praised for being a villain than to be obscure. People would rather give praise to a villain than to spend a moment not entertained. Letting little kids have social media, unsupervised. They are not equipped to handle any of it. So many conflicts spawn out of it. That one is a hefty debate, but I'm not gonna get into that, because who am I? Treating opinion as fact and fact as opinion. Looking at you, Ben Shabibo. We know what you're doing. Women, what are some questions you've always wanted to ask men, but were too embarrassed? Do you use the opening in your boxers/briefs to pee, or do you just pull down the top of your boxers/briefs? That little opening just doesn't seem that useful. Thank you in advance. I don't use it, but some people do. It's fun. It's like a little mini game. Fucking pee mini game. Someone probably already asked this, but is it hard/difficult to shave your balls? Yes, and I would love it if I just didn't have anything down there. The angles, honestly, how thoroughly do you wipe your butt? What about cleaning in the shower? And, unrelated, how open are you to the idea of prostate massages? Any kind of sexual attention being paid to your asshole? If you're straight, do you ever include any of that in masturbation? Would it feel weird, uncomfortable if a partner wanted to? I'll give a brief answer. First, straight people, gross. Clean your ass. It's so easy. You might not wipe well, but when you shower, just get your hands in there, you know? And then butt stuff is cool. I don't know. Be old enough to do that, though. Is being able to helicopter an innate skill, or do you have to practice? Well, let's move on. How often do you really cry? What makes you cry? I'm a broken human being, so I haven't cried in a few years, but I don't know what makes me cry. Men as a species are broken. When you use the toilet, does your weenie just hang into the toilet? Do you rest it on the seat? Do you ever get poop splash on your weenie? Not if I'm careful. You like cuddling after sex just as much as we do, don't you? Don't lie. Okay, yes, I do. God. Do you ever worry about what your friends think of the attractiveness of your girlfriend/wife? Like, are you ever worried that people you know don't find her good looking or judge you for being with her? This question is obviously coming straight from my insecurities. Lol. Do y'all enjoy late night chats as much as girls do, or it annoys y'all if it's very often? It depends on the time and setting. Like, if it's like 3 a.m., then shut up, I'm going to sleep. Is it true you really get random boners? Sometimes? Quick second note, I am not the male monolith. Do not look to me for what men do. What item under $50 drastically improved your life? It's a small thing. A closet rod installed above my washer/dryer and extra hangers. Now clothes get taken out of the dryer and put on a hanger right away rather than end up as a pile on the floor or in a basket never to be properly put away. Battery pack to charge your phone. We've all been in situations where having your phone on is super important, and not having to be tied to an outlet is even better. A cheap microwave and coffee maker for my work van. I have an inverter for my tools that I use to run them. Hot coffee and hot lunches make a huge difference, especially on bad days. 11-pound capacity digital kitchen scale for baking, cooking, and correctly identifying portion sizes. A rubber bristled broom. I have 2 dogs and 2 cats, and my house is all hardwood and tile. A regular broom just sends the fur floating everywhere, but my rubber broom keeps it all nice and tidy and easy to pick up. It works on my area rug and upholstered furniture too. Shower chair. I've got a f***ed up back, and I initially got it for that, but even if my back was fine, I'd still have one. They're so useful. If you shave your legs, you won't regret it. Hot water bottle. I live in cold Scandinavia and have chronic pain. It gets used pretty much all year round. Solar power battery pack. Power went out during the hurricane and I was still up and running for 5 days. What are some stupid mentalities and mindsets that need to end? Climate change is not weather. Just because it's -10 degrees doesn't mean it's a hoax. Some people think that just because a person looks normal, they don't have a disability and must be lying. Just because I'm young doesn't mean I don't need sufficient sleep. Just because I'm young doesn't mean I spend all of my money recklessly and need to work overtime every weekend. That if you get called out for your bullshit, everyone's a hater. That if I change my mind or opinion about something, I'm being fake or phony. I can't change anything, so I'm not gonna try it. If you don't like someone, you must be just jealous. That you need to stay in contact with all of your family members, even though some of them are incredibly toxic. I'm being persecuted when I'm contradicted. My opinion is as good as your evidence. What's something that is totally normal in movies but never happens in real life? Bombs with a special display that counts down to 0. How do you know that? How do you know that? Where you know this bomb knowledge, huh? Women can be in the jungle for days, but no body hair anywhere. Men instantly grow a beard. Being able to outrun an explosion. Look, I'm pretty quick, so I think I'll get away. Meeting new friends the minute you move to a new town. In horror movies, I always enjoy how fast and deep a perfectly symmetrical grave gets dug. Unless they're written to be stupid/comic relief, people in movies talk with 0 filler words. In real life, very few people are able to do that. People not screaming in absolute agony when shot or stabbed in the gut. Reservoir Dogs is one movie that did it realistically. Actually being able to have a conversation at a bar while music is playing. Now that's just pure fantasy. Can't happen. People recovering very quickly from injuries, especially head injuries. Hacking is typing really fast. People waking up with perfect makeup. My wife points this out in everything we watch. Guy walks in holding a 30-page document, gives to some other dude. The dude who's getting the document glances at the first page for a nanosecond and immediately knows everything there is to know about this case. What's a really cheap item you can buy that can make you look incredibly rich? I have a family member who always asks for empties of fancy bottles of alcohol and then just refills them with the cheap stuff. You'd be impressed if you look at his bar, but it's all a sham. Not exactly an item, but travel. Americans grossly overestimate the cost of international travel and think you have tons of money because of it. A butter cookie tin that has actual cookies and not sewing materials. Just call everyone Old Sport. Maybe I should try that for the intro sometime. Welcome back, Old Sport. We're reading it's EmKay. Okay, we'll move on. I'm late to the party. Spend money on getting your clothes tailored. I'm a money manager. The old school wealth doesn't wear anything that stands out. However, their clothes always have a perfect fit. The flashy guy that comes in with the big watch driving the sports car usually has a ton of debt. Money talks. Wealth whispers. My colleague has these golden earrings with zirconia drops. I thought she either stole them from a grandma or her boyfriend must have gave them to her, but she told me those were actually really cheap from a drugstore. Under cabinet lighting. I have rechargeable LED strips that I bought for $30 on Amazon, held up by magnets. They light up the backsplash/counter below and scream, "I had this custom lighting done by an electrician." A small table in your living room with a pitcher of water and 2 glasses. Apparently 3-ply toilet paper. One of my friends was at our house last year, and after a bathroom trip, she told another friend, "Oh, they've got money. They've got the good stuff. LOL. What is the strangest thing you've seen that you cannot explain? I sneezed my back into place after being couch-bound for nearly a year and a half. Within 15 minutes, it felt like that year and a half was a distant memory. I saw a man walk down the sidewalk in style stop at one of the free newspaper stands, open it up and pull out a spatula, then turn around and walk back the other direction. If he was homeless, it would have made sense, but the man was dressed in clean and pressed business casual and had perfect hair and a clean shave. Oh, that was just SpongeBob. He was on his way back to the Krusty Krab. It's not funny. That's not even a joke. Not exactly seen, but it's strange. I was around 6, and on Wednesday evening, I went to bed. I woke up and it was Friday. I remember asking my mom, why is it Friday when yesterday was Wednesday? She said yesterday was Thursday, obviously. I asked her what I did on Thursday because the last thing I remember is going to sleep on Wednesday. She named some activities and I remembered none of that. I never found out why I don't remember that Thursday. I was probably 13 or 14 and my brother, who's 2 years younger, was outside with me playing basketball. My dad was traveling for business, but when he was home, he would go out to his shed to work on wooden decoys and he would always say, "Hey guys," to my brother and I. So one night while my dad's away on business, we both hear, "Hey guys," in my dad's voice, and we both say, "Hey," back, thinking he came home early. So after we're done playing, we go inside to ask my mom why dad's home, and she tells us he isn't. He ended up coming home 2 days later as scheduled. My brother and I remember it clear as day and still can't explain it. I saw a beer bottle dropped from a 13th floor window into bricks and it bounced. My 3-year-old daughter walked up to my husband one night and straight up said, "Grandpa's dead." Few moments later, we get a call from my husband's sister saying their father had passed away. Happened a few months back. Still creeps me out. Squirrel wearing a leaf cap. Oh, you just stumbled upon a new Ghibli movie. What is a good weakness to mention on a job interview? Being vague. Can you elaborate? Yeah, if you're changing industries, your biggest weakness is not knowing the industry. Yet. If you are younger, say inexperience. Anything to show your willingness to learn and develop. Depends on the position, but I will sometimes say that I have trouble delegating when I know I can perform a task well. I'd rather just do it myself and know that everything will be done correctly. I was asked this during an interview with Uber and I was completely caught off guard. I ended up fumbling and saying something along the lines of, "I cannot ride a unicycle," for which I immediately regretted. For my current job, I said that I had a hard time sharing my ideas with new groups. Why do you want to work here? I'd say my greatest weakness is listening. I'm terrible at interviews. That's a surefire way to not get the job, in my experience. What's older than we think? Flushing toilets dates all the way back to the Indus River Valley civilization, back in 2000 BC. The ancient Romans, well, the wealthy ones, had central heating in their homes. You can actually still see the pipes in some of the buildings at Herculaneum. Didn't say that right. I don't care. Sharks. Sharks as a family are older than trees. Escalators have been around since 1859, though they were called rotating stairs. Fax machines. They were invented in 1843, before the telephone. Is that real? I don't know if that's real. Ancient Egyptians who built pyramids. The ancient Egyptians were as old to the ancient Romans as the ancient Romans are to us. The fact that the lighter is older than the match shook my head as a kid. It also gave me the curiosity to question things that seemed obvious. I don't know if this counts, but dinosaurs lived on the earth a lot longer than most people think. When you think of dinosaurs, you think of their extinction, but they roamed the earth for 165 million years. Compare that to our 6 million and it's almost mind-boggling, at least in my opinion. Beer is thought to be older than bread. It's much easier to fill a jar with wheat and water, let it ferment, and brew beer than it is to grind grain, mix it, and bake it. What is a life hack that seems fake, but is a true lifesaver? If you're having trouble staying awake in class / at a meeting, see how long you can keep one of your feet lifted slightly off the ground. If a man is in an accident, car, ladder fall, etc., and he gets an erection, don't move him. He has a spinal injury. What if he's a masochist, you know? I'm not here to kink shame. During pollen season, rinse your hair before bed. Otherwise, you're just depositing pollen on your pillowcase every night and then rolling your face in it all night. And then multiply that by how many nights you use the same pillowcase. Rubbing vegetable oil, or any cooking oil, on your hands after you cut up jalapenos or other hot peppers. It gets rid of the awfulness that would normally be left on your hands from the peppers. I rub my hands with oil and then wash it off with dish soap. I can totally remove my contacts after doing this. It's crazy how well this works. That rubbing alcohol removes chewing gum. Yell at your vacuum cleaner to get your dogs to stop barking at it. I don't know about that one. Your dogs probably just think you're yelling at them. I read that dogs look to their owners to see how they react to things. I sat on the floor and had my wife run into me with the vacuum. It worked so well that now the dog won't move out of the way, even for the robot vacuum. If your ring gets stuck on your finger, Windex will slide it right off. Worked at a jewelry store for 5+ years. Using your turn signal actually can help other drivers know which direction you plan to go and makes driving safer for everyone. one. Not so much a life hack, more of a legal driving thing, but people need to know that. Whenever you accidentally set off your smoke alarm, give your pets a treat so they learn to come to you when there actually is a fire and you need to escape. All your kindling for a fire is wet, and all you have is matches and snacks. Any corn chips will light into a ball of flames. If you've written on a dry erase board or any glossy surface with a permanent marker, like a Sharpie, just draw over it with a dry erase marker and it'll wipe right off. In Avengers Age of Ultron, Ultron goes into the internet for 5 seconds before realizing humanity can't be saved. What do you think he saw? Rule 34 of himself. YouTube comment thread. It's funny we don't talk about this movie, but there was once an AI that learned from Twitter. It was then deactivated for being racist. 2 Girls, 1 Cup from 2005. Ooh, that one's still in there. Get paid to never work again using this one simple trick. Number 6 will blow your mind. Yeah, he probably saw too many of those hot singles in your area ads and was like, it's over. There's nothing else. All of 4chan and Reddit. He watched all of the first season of Firefly, found out it didn't get a second season, and was done. Waluigi didn't get into Smash. The League of Legends community. I'm looking at you. Flat Earthers saying they have members around the globe. Why do you like to be alone? I hate the stress of having to constantly be present in mind when I'm with other people. I love being able to space out and sit in silence and just be in my own head. People are exhausting. Ugh, tell me about it. It's quiet. Solitude is comforting. When I'm alone, I don't have to be scared to be myself, and I don't have to pretend I'm feeling fine all the time. I've always been that way. Would rather enjoy my own company for countless hours than be around people and feel the need to leave after a while. Because it's nice to be alone with your thoughts and enjoy alone time. My friends are annoying sometimes. You know what? That is a fair, reasonable answer. Zero drama. Well, it depends on what your brain's like, because for me, I'm a mix between an introvert and an extrovert. I like spending time and talking to other people, but I can only recharge my energy when I'm alone. So if I have to socialize for 2 to 3 days in a row, I would make an effort to spend the next day completely alone to get back into good headspace, because I get tired from socializing. What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue? The Gilligan's Island experiment. Shipwreck 100 people with vastly different backgrounds, wealth disparity, and personalities on a remote island. See what kind of civilization grows from it. Then do it 50 more times to check results against each other. I'd train gorillas in weightlifting. Really see how tanked they can get. Boost them with steroids along the way. See if a monkey tribe could become dominant over the rest by training them to make and use weapons and other primitive technology. Also interested in seeing if they would take their newfound knowledge and begin to expand an empire. I've always wanted to try to breed a winter blooming rose. Ethics are fine, but the cost of having that many roses in a hot house and the decades of selective breeding most likely required to accomplish it would cost an astronomical amount, so I'm sticking with it. Have an Olympics where every single athlete is drugged to an insane level. I think it would raise what is possible by today's standards drastically. How long a decapitated head stays conscious? All we have are anecdotes that might have been exaggerated. I've always wanted a definitive answer, but you know, ethics. How athletes from different sports react to fight or flight. Even further, would they fight differently than others? How would the world react to a mountain of 100 billion pennies for free in the middle of a major area? Near-death experiences and what people see. So basically, I'd want to kill a bunch of people, then bring them back to life. I'm sure a lot of them wouldn't make it back. Well, if you've ever seen the movie like Flatliners, this is a pretty good example. I will make 5 subjects of sane and healthy mind placed in a facility with 5 psychopaths, insane murderers. They will have group activities in a pair of 2 from each group, and the activities will be of 2 types, moral and immoral. Then I will conduct results about how much these activities affect the subjects in both groups. Raise a child without ever punishing or rewarding them, just let them do whatever they want, and then see what happens to their behavior when they age. What are some ridiculous history facts? In 1895, the entire state of Ohio had only 2 cars. Both cars managed to still smash into each other. Ancient Romans would put sandals on the hands of sleeping people, then tickle their face so they would slap themselves. Okay, that is genius though. When the Romans laid siege to Themyscira, a real place weirdly enough, they attempted to tunnel into the city. The Themyscirians released bears into the tunnels. Claudius Drusus died in AD 20 from asphyxiation when he tossed a pear in the air and caught it in his mouth. The pear tree was put on trial, found guilty of murder, and destroyed. In ancient Egypt, servants were smeared with honey to attract flies away from the pharaoh. The first bomb dropped on Berlin by the British during World War II claimed no human casualties, but it did kill an elephant. At one time, there was not only a pope and an anti-pope, but also a counter-anti-pope. There's an anti-pope? A Chinese emperor escaped an assassin by running around a pillar. After 2 hours, the assassin got bored and went home, and wasn't charged for his crimes. What's the dumbest way you've gotten a scar? My cousin scratched my face because I was very ill and everyone was taking care of me. So she got jealous and nobody noticed for a long time because they were focused on getting my temperature back to normal. I was headbanging my hair dry in the bathroom. I hit the counter. I was 8. I have a scar on my forearm from a weaponized paper airplane I taped razor blades to and launched with a rubber band. Don't touch the iron, it's hot. Can't be that hot. Narrator, it was. Boys from my class were throwing CDs like you throw frisbee. One of those hit me right between the eyes. Still got a small scar there. I used a pressure washer on my foot. I have one on the back of my hand from rubbing the skin off with a pencil eraser longer than the other kids did when I was 13 just to prove I was tough. My brother, sister, and I all have the same kind of scar in our left eyebrow and got them at the same age. My brother opened an empty dresser drawer and smacked himself in the face. My sister ran into a brick wall and I fell off the couch onto a coffee table. I was trying to squeeze between 2 cars. One of the cars must have had a jagged bumper because it sliced a 2-inch gash in my leg. I got cut by a vacuum. A fucking vacuum. 7-year-old me was helping my mom iron clothes. I pulled on the cord, the iron fell and smacked me right in the face. I still have a scar above my right eye. I got hit on the bridge of my nose by a ceramic toilet seat when I was learning to pee like a big boy. Now I think about it, that's probably the best outcome there. Which type of tattoo makes you cringe the most? I'm a tattoo artist. Had a regular come into the shop. He was an older swinger type and my coworker tattooed him. He got Pinocchio tattooed above his junk with his penis as the nose, and script that said, "Lie to me." Those creepy faces of babies which look like there's always a little demon on your body. I was in line behind a guy who had a tattoo on his neck of 2 obese, naked cartoon women going at it, tongues hanging out, flying sweat drops, the works. Armpit pussy. It's when someone gets 2 women's legs tattooed around their armpit hair. Yes. No. Ew. This is like bizarre. The tattoo of a clown holding a gun smoking a joint on my leg. Oh, friend, you shouldn't have done that one. Nothing says I've been to prison for cooking in my trailer like a Joker neck or face tattoo. One my sister did for a guy on his arm of a juice carton with a pussy on the side saying pussy juice. Edit. If I remember correctly, it also had a droplet coming out of the end of the straw. People are insane. Why would you do that? Tattoos of brands. It's basically free advertising. At least email them what they would pay you if you advertise for them till you die. Famous people. I get it that you really are a fan of said famous person, but to permanently ink their face onto yourself is borderline crazy in my opinion. Just saw a couple of days ago a writing on some dude, "Karna isn't a bitch," just as I wrote it. Me reading these replies to see if any of my tattoos are on here. I don't know the exact English word, but in German it's called antlers. I'm not sure what it's actually supposed to represent, but it kind of looks like you've got a deer tossing your salad inside your pants. Lips on the neck. I get it. You're a gangster with an attitude problem and probably want to fight. A defendant in the courtroom I clerked in during law school had homicide tattooed on his face over his eyebrow. Not a great look. Know a girl who tattooed her firstborn's name as a tramp stamp. Not what I would want someone to be looking at while tagging from behind. What small thing brightens your day? When you can tell someone is genuinely happy to see you, or genuinely sad to see you go. I can't see my dad a lot anymore, but he makes sure to send me an update picture of his garden almost every day. The smile of others, especially if I caused it. In my neighborhood, every day when I come back from the gym at 6:01 a.m., there are a trail of quails, and every morning I stop so they can safely pass the road. If they aren't there, I get kinda sad. I like seeing my quails and knowing they got to their destination safely. I've got one of those little picnic table shaped squirrel feeders attached to the fence around our backyard. Every morning I put a fresh cob of squirrel corn on it and watch the little dudes and dudettes come feast on it. I learned this from visiting a buddy. Learn the names of the people who you routinely visit, i.e. gas station employees or grocery store clerks, whatever. Learn a little about them. Ask them about their day, call them by name. It just feels good to make people feel appreciated, I guess. I should add, don't pry. My dog loves laying on my feet. Just mine. Not my parents or siblings. My heart sings whenever he does it because it's clearly a sign of affection he reserves for me. Rediscovering the songs I used to listen to and either relive the memories or replace them. That's the tongue emoji. Seeing 1234 4 on the clock. I guess it's a little thing, but seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 is kinda cool. The way my dog wags his tail literally every time I look at him. Redditors who were born at a very young age. What is your story? Clearly, I was very sick. I mean, I was born in the hospital. To be honest, I've suppressed nearly every memory of the early period, but my parents tell me I avoided most activities, refused to speak, and spent much of my time crying. Not me personally, but a friend of mine was born on his birthday. Interesting. I remember when I was applying for a job as a fashion editor, they asked me what made me get into fashion. I didn't know what to say, so I said, I've been putting on clothes since I can remember. Both the interviewer and I started cracking up. I got that job. I happened to be born extremely young. In fact, I also happen to have been the youngest person on the planet, even if only for a very short period of time, presumably. I was born naked. Imagine a little baby getting born, just wearing a full suit. After I was born, I started to age quickly, with about 1 second per second. A maniac in blue clothes pulled me out and spanked me. It all started on the day of my birth. My parents didn't show up. I was gonna do a Doofenshmirtz impersonation, but I can't do that, and it sounded bad. You don't want to hear it. I was born at an extremely young age. Then it went downhill from there. You got that right, friend. What industry is a lot shadier than it seems? Avocado farms. Most of the farms in Central America are taken over by the cartel because of how much money is in selling avocados. The textbook industry. Pearson is the fucking mafia. Trucking. The margins are razor thin, and so everyone is trying to nickel and dime each other constantly. The drivers lie to their dispatchers, the dispatchers lie to the brokers lie to the clients. All of this for like $50 to $100 sometimes. More people died last year over vanilla in Madagascar than cocaine in South America. They've even coined the term vanilla murder. Farmers hire armed mercenaries to guard their crops from thieves near harvest time. And if one is caught, well, let's just say it's in response to all the farmers that were killed by thieves for the same reason. All industries are shadier than they seem. I used to work for a flute manufacturer and it was shady as hell. Doesn't the beauty industry have a problem with child labor? I remember watching a thing where a journalist goes to India to see the mines where children mine some sort of mineral to make bronzer. Dietary supplements. It's gotten better, but there's still a lot of half-truths and whole lies. Not all that long ago, it was seriously like the wild, wild west. As a chef/owner, I would say delivery services like Grubhub. They take 30% of the sale, leaving the restaurant with basically $0 in profit. And their customer support is a joke. It's like they hate us. F them. Never again. The nonprofit world, unfortunately, most people at the top are in it to make a name for themselves and don't usually care about the mission of the organization. Apparently, tiger zoos. Oh, I get it is a Tiger King reference. I get it. I never watched it. Sorry. Have you ever not slept for so long that you started hallucinating? What was your experience? Ooh, this reminds me of the Russian sleep experiment. Do that if you want to be scared about sleeping. I was a passenger in a car, and looking out the window, the shadows from trees would morph and grow and move. It was kind of scary, but I enjoyed it. It was like drugs before I did drugs. Don't do drugs. Do sleep. I went roughly 4 days on 5 hours sleep total. I could function fine, but I would just constantly hear things like people mumbling right next to me. Spent a few weeks only getting about 4 hours of sleep a night. My brain started seeing, from the corners of my eyes, black things dropping from the ceiling that looked like giant spiders. I started making sure I got enough sleep. Yes, I saw shadow creatures and I thought they were out to get me. No sleep for 4 days straight. It really fucks with your head. All sounds heightened to the max, and was sure I could hear all my neighbors talking shit about me. Overseas on a deployment, started getting sleep deprived for a period of time. Started hallucinating the big date/palm trees moving across the road like in the Lord of the Rings when the trees walk. I didn't have visual hallucinations, but auditory. It was like music and very nice, but scary because you didn't know where it came from. Shadow demons coming to get me. They're very fast. Please don't do this to yourself if you do. Believe me, you will start seeing crap. It's weird and mentally burdensome and heavy. Yeah, please get as much sleep as you can whenever you're able. Do not put yourself through this. Wouldn't you guess it? We've come to the end of our questions today. One last time, my name's been Brandon, and you will hear me in the next one. Thanks for watching.